Here's something that might surprise you. Studies show that just 2 minutes of power posing can increase testosterone levels by 20% and decrease cortisol by 25%. That's how dramatically our confidence affects our biology.
Those numbers are fascinating, especially when you consider how that physiological change impacts our decision-making abilities.
You know what's even more interesting? Research from Harvard Business School found that people who display confident body language are 85% more likely to be chosen for leadership positions, regardless of their actual qualifications.
Let me share something I've observed in my work. It's like there's this invisible threshold where self-confidence transforms from a personal trait into a social catalyst.
That's such an important point, and it reminds me of a recent study showing that confident individuals are 3 times more likely to positively influence their peer group's performance. It's almost like confidence has this contagious quality.
Well, that certainly explains why organizations spend billions annually on confidence-building workshops and leadership development.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the science behind building confidence. Neuroscientists have discovered that consistent small wins literally create new neural pathways in our brain, strengthening our belief in our abilities.
That makes me think about how different cultures approach confidence building. In Japan, for instance, they practice something called Kaizen, the art of making very small improvements every day.
Oh, that's fascinating. And it aligns perfectly with what psychologists call the micro-progress principle, where breaking down larger goals into tiny, achievable steps actually rewires our brain's reward system.
You know what really stands out to me? The fact that confidence isn't just about personal achievement. It's deeply connected to our relationships and social support systems.
That's right, and research shows that people with strong support networks are 40% more likely to maintain their confidence during challenging times. It's like having emotional safety nets that catch us when we fall.
Let me bring up something that might surprise our listeners. Studies indicate that overconfident people actually tend to be less successful in the long run than those with realistic self-assessment.
Well, that's such a crucial distinction. It's the difference between authentic confidence and what psychologists call the confidence facade. Real confidence includes acknowledging our limitations and being okay with them.
The data on this is pretty clear. Individuals who practice self-compassion alongside confidence building show 60% better resilience in facing setbacks.
And here's what I find really powerful about that. When we combine self-compassion with confidence, we're actually creating what researchers call psychological flexibility, which is a key predictor of long-term success.
So what would you say is the most effective way to start building that kind of authentic confidence?
Well, according to recent psychological research, the most effective approach is something called graduated exposure, systematically facing slightly challenging situations while maintaining a success rate of about 75%. This creates the perfect balance of growth and confidence building.
That reminds me of the zone of proximal development theory, where we learn best when we're just slightly outside our comfort zone.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that studies show this approach leads to a 300% increase in sustained confidence compared to trying to make dramatic changes all at once.
Those numbers really put things into perspective. It's about building a foundation rather than trying to construct the whole building at once.
Looking toward the future, I think we're going to see more emphasis on what researchers call collective confidence, how groups and communities can build confidence together rather than focusing solely on individual development.
That's certainly where the research seems to be heading, especially with the rise of digital communities and remote work environments.
Well, as we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with this thought. Confidence isn't just about personal achievement. It's about creating ripple effects that positively impact our entire community. The research shows that confident individuals inspire an average of 7 other people in their immediate circle.
That's such a powerful way to think about it. Building confidence isn't just self-improvement. It's actually a form of social contribution.